normally handles our situation every time we have a meeting. But this is especially very, 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 very important. Very, very important that he has quite a bit knowledge of our person now, who is a subject of discussion. Yogi Arvind was known as one of a kind. He was all scholarship. He had all knowledge. He was unique in his life. He was a spiritualist. He was a fighter. He was scholar par excellence. And many other people got degrees by just staying in touch with him. So when we talked about this, Vivekji and we, and I thought this is the best occasion to remember to think about him, because he passed away today, or to this day. So I think we are very fortunate that we have somebody like Vivekji to talk about these issues. We have studied a lot. My sister, for example, got her PhD from his outfit there with his studies and all kinds of stuff. So we grew up thinking about all these things, and we are in good shape. I have not seen all of you here, but fortunately I've seen one or two good souls here. But as time goes on, we will see more people. And so everybody will talk, but Vivekji will keep the proper situation, where who should talk, who should not talk, when he talks, and all kind of stuff. Okay, Vivekji, you start the process.
Sure. Thank you, Vishnuji. So as you said, it's very fortunate that हम लोग ने जब decide किया कि we will have a program on Bande Mataram. It happened on 5th December. 5th December is what we call Mahasamadhi Divas of Sri Aurobindo. But before going into that, आज का जो topic है, I've created a presentation and we'll try to take it through that. And obviously, any question, any discussion we want to have, we can have that. I'm going to share my screen and see what happens. Can you see? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So we are going to talk about this newspaper, Bande Mataram. It's very less known into the public domain, actually. What was the role of India's independence, and what did this newspaper, which was really have done a marvelous job, a miraculous job of leading a freedom movement of India. So I'll just start with a brief summary of the newspaper, and we're going to try to stay focused to the newspaper. Obviously, it's a synonym to Sri Aurobindo's writing because he was the main editor of the newspaper. As it was started on 6th August, it was in English, so daily and weekly. The first earlier editor was Bipin Chand Pal, and Bipin Chand Pal is the same Pal what we know in Indian history, Lal Bal Pal. So he's the same Bipin Chand Pal. It started on 6th August. And in 6 months, Bipin Chand Pal really had to move out. And then Sri Aurobindo became the editor. And from 24th October 1906 to up to 2nd May 1908, when Sri Aurobindo was actually put into the jail for what is known as Alipur jail, Sri Aurobindo was the editor. Apart from Sri Aurobindo had gathered few other intellectuals of his time, and they were also very involved in writing the things for the Bande Mataram. Obviously, Bipin Chand Pal initially he did, then Sri Aurobindo, then Chittaranjan Das, Rajat Nath Ray, Hemant Prasad Ghosh, Shyam Sundar Chakravarti, Bijoy Chakravarti Chatterjee. We don't hear their names so much, or we know, but they really were the soul behind the Bande Mataram along with Sri Aurobindo. And they all were par excellence in the language and had their own specific way of writing. Sri Aurobindo took great care in the financing because, as you can say, at that time, Sri Aurobindo was doing all the financing, not himself, but trying to get people who were financing the paper. And when Sri Aurobindo was in the jail, finance started becoming a problem. And so at that time, around October, it was decided, and these are actually the writing of Sri Aurobindo, that he had given this as a answer to some of the letters, that Bijoy Chakravarti Chatterjee will write a article based on that, government would definitely just close the paper. And that's how, so the paper is started in 1906, it ended in 1908. And the main paper of Calcutta around that time were the Englishman, Bengali, Amrit Bazar Patrika, Empire, Statesman, and Daily News. Bande Mataram, even though it was in Calcutta, it was read throughout the country at that time. It's a Bengal, all the different regions of that time. Now, so this was just a very brief summary of about the paper itself. Now, before we go into the what did paper did, it's very important to understand what was the political scenario or the in general scenario of India at that time. So something which looks very normal to us today, at that time it was beyond imagination. People were okay with British Raj. If at all they were thinking only of, okay, where can I get some tax deduction? Where can I get some concession? This is, I'm talking about the general public. And the leadership also, obviously, because of that mindset, they were floating around the same line of a government, that what to ask from government. And they were all agreed that it will be the British who will govern. It was the paper Bande Mataram who really started that discussion that political freedom is the most important thing we need. And you can see in the Bande Mataram, like pages after pages, I took one of the line here, political freedom is the life breath of a nation and no attempt to social reform, educational. And Sri Aurobindo not only put this into the paper, Bipin Chand Pal, Sri Aurobindo, they did extensive travel throughout the country, and especially in that time in the Bengal area, to make people aware that why political freedom is important. So this is something in today, I'm not sure, and I think I know it's not attributed to the thought process of Indian thought process at that time, that how did we come to think about political freedom? We are free today as a country, India, but this idea of political freedom, it really happened around that time. And one of the major incidents which happened, which also much less talked or in the public domain, is this Bengal partition. It was Bengal partition when it was proposed around July, August 1906, and it actually happened on 15th October 1906. The whole public on its own suddenly had got awakened because of that partition, what happened in Bengal, or what was proposed at that time earlier, and then they did the partition. So public was already brooding for getting this partition go away, and that's where Bande Mataram newspaper, through Sri Aurobindo's writing, started putting this idea of political freedom And the paper itself was started by this idea that we have to, the whole nation has to be awakened by this thought of political freedom. And it's, you can see there's a tons of documents, the pages after pages is available in this. So this is something of very important to realize, that this idea of political freedom, the idea of Swaraj, there was a word Swaraj used, but it was something different. Uh, and that's where we now get into this. What was the idea of Swaraj? So idea of Swaraj, what we call generally these days, Narandal, Garandal, or loyalist, nationalist. Uh, it's such a great, I mean, it's a sad thing that when we talk about Narandal, Garandal, we literally think it's a violence versus non-violence. That's really the connotation people have when they think about this Narandal and Garandal. Whereas the issue was much more than just being Narandal or Garandal. So this loyalist, what they call, uh, their idea of Swaraj was not political freedom. And that was the one of the main difference between Narandal and Garandal, what we call loyalist and nationalist, moderate versus nationalist. So this is also something to be understood. And this newspaper, Bande Mataram, which has hammered this point day and night about that, what moderate leaders are calling Swaraj is, that's not the Swaraj. And this here, freedom is the goal of our political struggle, but there is a difference of opinion regarding the true meaning of freedom. Some say it's a full autonomy, some say it's a colonial self-government, and others mention it is Swaraj, which is a full political freedom. So this is also something to understand, that when we talk about moderate versus nationalist, it was not simply one will pick up the arm and one will not pick up the arm. Actually, the nationalists, they were not too much taking up the arms, and which you can see more into this passive resistance, which again, this Bande Mataram newspaper started at that time, that how do you fight it back with the government? And that's where this paper, Bande Mataram, as a synonym to Sri Aurobindo's writing again, which gave such a clear-cut direction, the definition, the object, the necessity, goals, conclusion. It is a whole article, it's a whole multiple articles are available. I have just taken few bullet points, tried to put them in so that it's readable. It's not too much putting it on the presentation. But if you read this document, you cannot leave a single line. There is not a single line which is you don't think is important. That kind of writing Bande Mataram was giving out in the public, and it was really moving the people, giving them the clarity of thought that what the passive resistance means and why we have to do it, why it is important. So there is something also was going on at that time, self-development. So moderates were looking at self-development, but they were not, it was not very clearly defined that what does self-development mean. Whereas Swadeshi word also was thrown into that, but Lord Minto was there. They were deforming the word Swadeshi by honest Swadeshi, where they were giving their own definition. So this newspaper, Bande Mataram, was keep giving them the clarity and bringing the English mindset, that how a British mindset actually works, how the liberals and conservatives in London thinks about it, what is the London people may do about it. So all those things are keep coming into this. And not only this, uh, this newspaper was when they were talking about passive resistance and why we need passive resistance, uh, because of the immense knowledge what Sri Aurobindo had, because he was in London for up to the age of 21. Uh, pretty much the entire European history was available to Sri Aurobindo. And you can see that in writing where he is giving different places where the resistance has happened, where the freedom movement has happened, and how they were successful, what was the background around it. So it's not just, it was not given as a something, oh, because, this is my thought process and this is what's supposed to be done. It was the full analytics was given so that you can understand and you get convinced that this is the thing which needs to happen. And it was not only the necessity object, a step-by-step methodical approach was given in the paper day after day, that what you need to do, how much we have to do, how much we have to be ready to sacrifice ourselves. So all these things were available, were given in that newspaper at that time. Again, and then again, because it's a passive resistance, as you can see by the name, it looks like, okay, but passive resistance means we'll just simply, not do and resist. But it was also very clearly defined that there is a point where this passive resistance has to become active resistance. And all those things were such a hand-to-hand, so it does not become just a simply a non-violence thing that where you are simply resisting and not ready to pick up the arms if needed or fight back. So this is such a important document to understand how people of that time were working with the passive resistance, and there were tools were given, which is boycott, Swadeshi. They were all the tools for this passive resistance. And if you read these documents,
Vivekji, how much was the circulation of Bande Mataram?
That number I do not have, but it was all over the country, that I know for sure. It was going to Bombay, Surat, Gujarat, Punjab, Madras, because all those events this newspaper was covering. And if
it was only in one language, English?
It was only in English.
Okay.
Actually, if you read this line here, passive resistance will be the final method of salvation in our case. Means at that time, it was pretty much saying that how India is going to get the freedom, or it may be only the preparation for the final sadhana. So it's pretty much at that time, Sri Aurobindo, aka Bande Mataram newspaper, had already told people that how India's freedom is going to come. Which is Sri Aurobindo's writing is never as a prediction kind of writing. You will not find in Sri Aurobindo's writing anywhere predicting something. That's his style of writing. He just mentioned things. So you can see that, but nonetheless, his understanding about how the country is, how the Britishers are, what forces are working, how they will work together, and keep on refining this Swaraj, political freedom, keep on hammering this. This political freedom is very important, and without anything less than political freedom, is not accepted. So we can go on, and I'll just quickly finish, and we can open it for any question have. So it was also because of Sri Aurobindo's understanding about the English mindset. I think it was the only paper who was really able to understand when any decisions were taken, what do they really mean? There is something at that time, what was very uh, famous at that time was known as notables, so councils actually. So lot of loyalists wanted to be part of notables, and they were pushing that, okay, out of 25, let's make 10 as Indian notables. So what does that really mean? This paper was keep bringing those information out that even if you are 10 in notable, you really don't have any voting power to make any of the decision approved. Even all 10 vote together, still out of 25, you will be voted out. So you are there just as a part of being there. So all this information, all this thought process, this paper was keep bringing day after day, day after day, and not only bringing in the paper, they were inside the people. They were Shervindo, Bipin Chand Pal, and others, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai. They all were part of the similar thought process, and they were inside the people to make them understand that what we have to do. And if you look at this this line that where Shervindo and Bande Mataram is saying that you have to be determination. So we have to not only work, we have to determine no matter what happens, we are going to go through it. So this kind of information was keep coming day and night from that paper. Boycott. So why boycott is, so boycott was, some people were saying, oh, we should not hate others. You know, a boycott is like a hating something. So again, what is the morality of boycott? Why boycott is not an act of hate? It is an act of self-defense. It all these things had to be told and get people convinced. And you can see this in the different articles, that in which part boycott was successful, which part boycott was not successful, where it was successful, and all these things are captured in the paper Bande Mataram. And wherever it was not successful, they were trying to make move into those areas to make people understand that why it is important. Boycott needs to happen and Swadeshi need to happen. We generally talk about Swadeshi and boycott, but they go hand in hand. That's also, this paper has brought out very beautifully, that you can boycott something, but unless there is a replacement of that, boycott will not be successful. Boycott will not be successful if you don't boycott not only the goods or the services, but the people who are opposing it or who are not with you. So all this dynamics was this paper was keep bringing out one after other, and making people headway to get more on Swadeshi. And you'll be surprised to know that at that time, because of the Swadeshi movement, there were so many mills, so many schools, so many small hospitals were open as a part of this movement. So Swadeshi was not just make something local, sugar mill, salt, paper product, all these mills were coming out at that time to give a replacement of what you are boycotting. This is also something to be very important to understand how this paper was doing that. And I just took some 1 month, how extensive that traveling was happening. Shervindo between 22nd December to 1st February had like given 14 speeches in Maharashtra. So think about it, all these speeches are captured by different Marathi. Generally, they were printed in Marathi and they are available right now in English translation. Some of them were noted by the police, so their translation is available. But nonetheless, the point is how much extensively Shervindo, Bal Gangadhar Tilak name, I think we know quite a bit, was inside, and how Bande Mataram was taking a lead into all these areas where it was needed. So what was Bande Mataram doing? Bande Mataram was doing so many things. It was providing insight of events. There is a riot happened at Jamalpur. There's a riot happened at Komila. Uh, these are something to be studied, that what happened at Komila, where police were supporting Muslims versus Hindus, at Jamalpur, where again, but Hindus did not react it. At Komila, Hindus were going back to police to help, and police was just becoming a mute witness and not doing anything because they were supported by them. Jamalpur, same thing happened in Jamalpur. First 2-3 days, riot happened, Hindus were beaten up, but then they realize and they come back and they fought it back. So it was giving insight of all those in things. Newspapers were writing something, Statesman, Times, Mirror. So it was keep rebutting what they were saying, what is not in line with the India's national freedom movement or the larger interest. Then it was also exposing the Congress politics. What is the Congress stand on national education? What happened at Surat Congress? I think that's one of the most famous incident we know, where Congress was split. What is the old policy and new? What happened at Behrampur? They did some trickery how to make Dadabhai Nauroji as a president when Tilak was supposed to be president, without having any reception committee, without having any discussion. They simply send a telegram to Dadabhai Nauroji, and him not knowing anything, he came from London to here to become a president. So all these things has been very extensively captured in this newspaper. And it was covering even span India. It was not only Bengal, what was happening in Rawalpindi, what was happening in Tuticorin, what was happening in Madras, what was happening in Bombay, Punjab. It was covering all that area in the newspaper. So I tried to cover very quickly that what was the Bande Mataram, really, how did it play the role into this thing. We can open up for any other question or anything right now we want, or anybody wants to make any comment. Yes, Damleji.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Damleji.
Yeah. It's a really wonderful thing.
Okay.
Please, number one, there's somebody writing comments on my name. Okay, look like an intruder. Important thing, can you give us where to get the old issues of Bande Mataram? Number one. Number two, the issues of Bande Mataram is available. They are available in British newspaper archives at London. I was in London, and I've seen that issues, and National Archives in Delhi also, some of the issues. But most important thing is quotation from a newspaper report from Bande Mataram, available in American weekly called Gaelic America. Gaelic is the name of the Irish language, and it was edited by D. Wellera, who later became a first president of Ireland. And it's published from New York, and every week they have one page about India from 1905 after the partition of Bengal, and it was Gaelic America advising Indian patriot that no country win the freedom without armed revolution.
Yes.
So number two, so Indians should know how to use the arms. And the Gaelic America, every week one page on India, and they give a lot of quotation from Bengal. I bought the microfilms from Gaelic America from 1905 to 1914. And every week there is an article. They give the quotation from Bande Mataram, Tilak, Maratha Weekly of Lokmanya Tilak, and Lala Rajpat Rai paper, and news from India. Right. So this is available. Yes, it's very interesting to know that this is another addition, as you mentioned, the Swarajya. complete independent.
Mhm.
So it was a motto of Savarkar's first local organization called Mera. Mitra means friends. Mera means
Yes,
association.
Mhm.
And their goal was also, in Marathi they say, like no country win the freedom without armed
Yes.
revolution.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is happening. And same continued philosophy Veer Savarkar started in his later organization called Abhinav Bharat.
Mhm.
And when he went to India, when he went to London for barristership, become a barrister. Previously, the Shama Prasad, not Shama Prasad, Shamji Krishna Verma, Pandit Shamji Krishna Verma,
Mhm.
he was for dominion in the status for Bharat, India.
Mhm.
So Savarkar convinced him, and he became a president of Free India Society in London.
Mhm.
And his interview published 1909 interview published in Gaelic America. Yes.
Mhm.
And our goal is complete political independent. No dominion status like Canada, Australia, complete political.
Yeah.
And then 30 years back, then the 20 years after that, Congress passed a resolution at Lahore Congress.
Mhm.
They see the happening. And this article regarding Swadeshi also,
Mhm.
when you talk about Aurobindo, of course, Swadeshi, great contribution, no doubt. But along with that, senior to the Aurobindo was Lal, Bal, and Pal.
Mhm. Yes.
Lala Lajpat Rai from Punjab,
Mhm.
Chandra Pal from Bengal, and Lokmanya Tilak from
Yes.
Maharashtra.
Absolutely.
The thing was how to implement this thing into the public action.
Mhm.
So in Maharashtra, Tilak started, of course, the Swadeshi schools were pretty old in Bengal, Punjab, and Maharashtra. But Tilak started called Paisa Fund. Paisa means cent.
Yes. Yes. Mhm.
Paisa Fund. And with the one penny, 1 paisa in Bharat, the India, started the glass factory near Pune, and which transferred to the Gujarat, Morbi.
Mhm. Mhm.
So these are information. So after the split in Indian National Congress at Surat,
Mhm.
VVS Iyer from Tamil Nadu, who was become a revolutionary,
Mhm.
he met Lokmanya Tilak and asked Lokmanya Tilak that Bengal is rising against the partition, Punjab is active, Maharashtra is active, so India's freedom will be very soon.
Mhm.
What Tilak told him, he wrote down in his diary, and his diary, half the diary in Tamil, half in English, and that is I got available diary at National Archives of India at Delhi.
Mhm.
In 1906, after the Surat split, when he mentioned about the uprising of Indians, Tilak said this uprising only 3 or 4 provinces, and with the limited youth people also. Unless there is a all India uprising, all India organization, all India uprising, nothing can be achieved. And which the thought continue, because Lokmanya Tilak told the same thing with Dr. Hedgewar, to whom he Hedgewar Tilak in 1916. And from there, the RSS started. So connecting the missing dot, what I'm trying to do, connecting the missing dot. And those who are interested to see the more about the Vande Mataram contribution of Vande Mataram, Bengali Weekly, Yugantar Weekly, all these things available in USA.
So you are absolutely right, Damleji. And I can share the link. The whole Bande Mataram is available online. Every single article is available online. Actually, Shravindra's whole writing is available. And Bande Mataram has the paper as a paper, because we are talking about as a paper. What did the newspaper did? It has given great importance to Tilak's work. There are many articles on what a magnanimous personality Tilak had, how many times Tilak was opposed as a getting a presidentship 1905, 1906, and finally what happened in 1907. Lala Lajpat Rai, it has covered, Bande Mataram newspaper has covered many articles on Lala Lajpat Rai and his contribution, and even his detention, how it has helped the freedom movement. Even that part, this newspaper has covered all that depth. So yes, to your point, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, they all were great leaders, and they have done tremendous job to the freedom movement. We were just talking about here the Bande Mataram newspaper. What did it offer to the freedom movement? Not and through Bande Mataram newspaper, the personality like Tilak's personality, Lala Lajpat Rai's personality, it just comes out much bigger. I mean, it is bigger personality. They are very big, but they all have been captured as a part of articles in Bande Mataram.
Yeah, the only my concern that Lokmanya Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, and Lala Lajpat Rai, even the Aurobindo considered him as a senior leader.
Yes, absolutely, they were. Yes, actually, Sri Aurobindo has written that I never sat on the chair of Bipin Chandra Pal, who was the chief editor. So when Bande Mataram was started, Bipin Chandra Pal was editor. Even though he was there only for 6 months, but it is in writing. I have never sat down on his chair. So it's just proving the point. Sri Aurobindo was respectful to everyone. Obviously, there is no doubt. But even then, if you read what this leader had to say about Sri Aurobindo, those are also amazing. You will come to know the magnanimity of the personality what he has. If you really think about it, he was around 32 about that age of that time. Out of 32, 21 years he was in London.
Mm-hmm.
So
when he was in London for the BA,
right, and then he came to Baroda. Until then he did not knew any language, Indian language. So I mean knew a little bit, but in staying in Baroda, he mastered all the Indian language, including Bengali, and he started taking part. He started writing in Hindu Prakash, and his writing was so bold and blunt that the editors of Hindu Prakash asked him to tone down, and then he had to stop writing. He said, "There is no way I can tone down my writing." So, but the contribution of this paper is really remarkable. In terms of defining passive resistance, in terms of bringing boycott. It's not limiting or Lala Lajpat Rai or Lokmanya Tilak's credit is not no less, and it gives us due also through the paper. So if we are talking about the paper, this paper has given due credit where it belongs to in terms of Lokmanya Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, Sardar Ajit Singh. There are so many names are there actually. Dada Bhai Nauroji. You can find names after name in the paper. So it has given the due where it belongs to, and even after that has continued to propagate the ideas, which has really helped clarity in the thought process.
Vivek
ji.
I think we have 10 minutes left, 10-15
yes.
minutes.
So,
थोड़ा आप अपना वेब सीरीज के बारे में बताएंगे इस विषय
sure,
पर
yes,
आपने
yes,
वेब सीरीज जो बना रहे हैं.
Yes, so some of you know I'm working with blessing of all of you in web series on Bande Mataram. I've been working of a year and a half on that, and I'm working with India's very famous director, Dr. Chandra Prakash Dwivedi, Chanakya fame. So we have right now created the storyboard. Means it's a 12-episode web series. What I want to show in the web series. So we have all that storyline pretty much created. So I wanted to show a 7-minute video, what we have created as a teaser, we call it, to see if to see your reaction. Let me take it there.
Dekhiye, I want to, can you listen? Can you hear me?
Yes. Can we just watch this and then we can take your comment?
Okay,
if you
let's
don't mind?
watch. Yeah, we follow.
There's no sound going on. Are we getting any sound? No sound?
No, you, when you do unshare, then reshare, and then you have to click on share with sound, bottom left.
I go to advanced or just go to
No,
my
the option is on your share screen, bottom left. Yeah, there will be a box.
Oh, yes,
or-
share sound, right? Yes,
Yeah,
share
yeah.
sound.
Okay,
correct.
you're good then.
Got it.
राजीव जी
उत्तिष्ठ देहीति पिपासुरम्बा दध्वानरात्रौ नगरे वितारे सेयं स्तनन्ती रजनीतमिस्त्रां बभौ समापूर्य मनांसि चार्या।
मैं भवानी भारती, अपनी संतानों के लिए भारत माता, ये मेरी पुकार है। जागो, जागो, हे वीरों, जागो। सन 1905 में बंगाल का विभाजन करके वायसराय लॉर्ड कर्जन ने अखंड भारत के सपने को चूर-चूर कर दिया। उसने पूर्वी और पश्चिमी बंगाल को एक दूसरे से काटकर हिंदू मुसलमानों में हमेशा के लिए फूट डाल दी। जब बच्चों को दर्द होता है तो सबसे पहले वे माँ को याद करते हैं। ऐसे ही जब माँ के साथ कोई दुर्व्यवहार कर रहा हो तो माँ भी सबसे पहले अपने बच्चों को ही पुकारती है। मेरे टुकड़े किए गए थे, मुझे सताया जा रहा था। ऐसे में मेरी चित्कार को कौन देश के कोने कोने में पहुंचाएगा? तभी किसी राष्ट्रवादी का स्वर गूंजा।
Arise, arise, O sleeping lions.
अब तक जो सो रहे थे, अब वक्त था उन्हें जगाने का, मेरी उन संतानों को ललकारने का जो भारत माँ के लिए मर मिटने को तैयार हों, जो राष्ट्रवाद की नई लौ जलाएं और एक नए निर्भीक भारत की नींव रखें। महज 500 रुपए में बंगाल के शेर विपिन चंद्र पाल ने इसकी शुरुआत की और उन्हें मिला एक ऐसा कलम का सिपाही जिसने अपनी धधकती लेखनी से अंग्रेज सरकार की नाक में दम कर दिया। ये थे श्री अरविंद घोष। और फिर शुरुआत हुई एक ऐसे अखबार की जिसने बीड़ा उठाया सारे राष्ट्र को एक कर अंग्रेजों को चुनौती देने का। उस अखबार का नाम था बंदे मातरम। बंगाल का विभाजन करके अंग्रेजों ने बहुत बड़ी भूल कर दी थी। बंदे मातरम अखबार ने अंग्रेजों की इस गलती को देश हित के अवसर में बदल कर रख दिया। राष्ट्रहित में कही जाने वाली हर बात को जब ब्रिटिश सरकार देशद्रोह करार दे रही थी, तब एक ओर बंगाल में इस राष्ट्रवाद की कमान श्री अरविंद और विपिन चंद्र पाल ने संभाले रखी, तो वहीं महाराष्ट्र में लोकमान्य बाल गंगाधर तिलक ने इस लड़ाई को जारी रखा। ऐसी ही एक और लड़ाई लाला लाजपत राय के नेतृत्व में पंजाब में भी लड़ी जा रही थी, जहां उनका साथ दिया सरदार अजीत सिंह ने, जिनका मंत्र पगड़ी संभाल जट्टा पंजाब के आंदोलन का सबसे मशहूर नारा बन गया। फिर वो समय भी आया जब देश के इन अग्रणी नेताओं लोकमान्य बाल गंगाधर तिलक, लाला लाजपत राय को देश निकाला दिया गया। ऐसे में श्री अरविंद के नेतृत्व में बंदे मातरम देश को राष्ट्रवाद की इस लड़ाई में नए नए सूत्र देता रहा। जिस बात को कांग्रेस कहने से हिचकिचाती थी, उसे बंदे मातरम अखबार ने कह दिया। अब देश पूर्ण स्वराज्य चाहता था, वो राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा चाहता था जहां उसके गौरवपूर्ण इतिहास का वर्णन हो, वो अखंड भारत चाहता था। बंगाल विभाजन से आग बबूला जनता सड़कों पर थी। लोग विदेशी वस्तुओं की होली जला रहे थे। स्वदेशी और बहिष्कार आंदोलन शुरू हो चुका था। आने वाले कई वर्षों के लिए असहयोग आंदोलन की नींव यहीं से रखी गई। बंदे मातरम लोगों की हार को जीत में बदल रहा था। वह घर घर तक मेरी पुकार पहुंचा रहा था, पैसिव रेजिस्टेंस के तरीके पहुंचा रहा था। अंग्रेज सरकार की लाख पाबंदियों के बावजूद लोग सड़कों पर निकलते और वंदे मातरम गीत गाते, भारत माता की जय का नारा लगाते। इस बीच ब्रिटिश सरकार को मौका मिला और उसने बंदे मातरम अखबार पर देशद्रोह का मुकदमा चला दिया। झूठे गवाह खड़े किए गए, सबूत पेश किए गए, प्रेस की आजादी का गला घोटा जा चुका था। लेकिन सारा देश श्री अरविंद के साथ था, बंदे मातरम के साथ था। ये भारतीय राष्ट्रीय आंदोलन में अंग्रेजों की सबसे शर्मनाक कार्यवाहियों में से एक है। बंदे मातरम अखबार के जरिए ये देश की उन बलिदानियों की कहानी है जो आज से पहले कभी नहीं सुनाई गई। ये लोकमान्य तिलक, लाला लाजपत राय, विपिन चंद्र पाल, सरदार अजीत सिंह जैसे उन राष्ट्रवादियों की कहानी जिन्हें एक्सट्रीमिस्ट या उग्र कहकर इतिहासकारों ने भुलाने की कोशिश की है। ये वह कहानी है जो मैंने अपनी आंखों से देखी है और जिसे श्री अरविंद की कलम की धार ने आज तक जीवित रखा है। अब समय है इसे सुनाने का।
I want to add, I want to say some more thing. Vivekji is a wonderful assignment you have, but two best source for impact of Vande Mataram or movement is one is the Sedition Committee Report 1919. If you get a copy of that, that will be great. Second thing, I would like to draw your attention, along with Aurobindo, the contribution played by Shyamji Krishna Varma, Pandit Shyamji Krishna Varma at London. Also, if you include in that, that will be great also. Sure. Because simultaneously, there is a PhD thesis on Indo-German relationship by Harvard University. Mm-hmm. They mentioned so many things about this, what you are telling. So they will provide you a lot of information about from the angle, from the intellectual from West.
Sure. Thank you, Sridhar. Yes, I will call you actually separately to get a lot of information. I think Vishnu ji kuch कहना चाह रहे हैं.
Virendra ji बोलना चाह रहे हैं.
Vivek ji, first of all, congratulations. I think you put together very, very touching and absorbing tale. I look forward to viewing it or learning more about it. I think you introduced me to a tremendously important topic. Your logic was strong. I think I remember that Rabindranath Tagore sang that song, Bande Mataram, in one of the Congress sessions. And I wonder whether he was inspired by this when they wrote the national anthem later on. That'll be very interesting to look at. I don't know anything about it, but I thought about it, whether there was an inspiration for Tagore to have been exposed to Vande Mataram and then wrote Janagan Man. That would be interesting. But you did a great job. I look forward to seeing your work and viewing it when possible. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Just to add to your comment, so the picture what you see, Bharat Mata in that teaser,
Yes.
that is drawn by Rabindranath Tagore's brother, Avneesh Tagore. That is the first depiction of Bharat Mata. Aditya ji, आप कुछ कहना चाहें?
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Vivekji, for educating us and enlightening us about a phase of independence movement that has been forgotten. I think the hallmark is 1915, when the entire movement was hijacked by arrival of a person from South Africa. And the nationalist fervor of the independence movement was slowly metamorphosed into tolerant, pro-British moves. I think that distinction needs to be made, because by the time MKG arrived from South Africa in 1915, Bipin Chandra Pal was in poor health.
Yeah.
He passed away 1920, and Lala Lajpat Rai died in 1928. So there was a transformation of leadership, and the movement was captured by MKG and his acolytes that belonged to a different kind of brand. So I'm very, very thankful that you are now highlighting that part of forgotten history the nationalist movement had. Couple of more comments. Besides the original Bande Mataram, there was a Bande Mataram edition from Paris, started in 1909 by Bhikaji Kama, Madam Bhikaji Kama. And then subsequently in 1931, an Urdu daily was started by name Bande Mataram. It was in Urdu, from Lahore.
Mm-hmm.
So Bankim Chandra, as this, Anand Martin,
Yes.
Bande Mataram as national song, has consistently inspired
Yes.
the Indian nationalist movement at various phases, although the movement was captured by pro-British Congress.
Yes, absolutely. That's very true. Actually, one of the documents which will come out of this web series, that Vande Mataram chanting, it came, Vande Mataram was there, but it had not become a cry of the people. If there's a one incident which can be attributed where it really picked up, it is called Barisal proclamation. At Barisal, there was a huge gathering was there, and there was a lathi charge and all those things happened. And from that point on, Vande Mataram really became the war cry of people. So it is something very interesting to see how this Bengal partition has played a role in India's freedom. It's really unparalleled.
Yeah, some more information. The Gaelic America, after they published a Vande Mataram song in Bengali as well as English translation, and there was continued every week song from Punjabi, song from Gujarati, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, all the languages on Vande Mataram style. But interesting to know that there was a song about the Bharat Mata, about Bharat Mata in Persian language and Arabic language. Urdu, of course, Urdu was a language of Punjab and Northwest area. And but in Persian language and Arabic language, Bharat Mata song was there, and that published in the Gaelic America
Yeah.
micro.
Namleji, I'm gonna have to call you to get all this important information what is at your disposal and make a note of it and see how I can use them towards making a better content.
Absolutely.
Vivek ji,
That's nice.
how are you going to finance this whole web series?
So this is pretty costly, Dinesh, you are right. So right now it's a 12 episode series. The current estimate which I have is around $500,000 per episode. Because the scale on which we want to make it at the international standard and something a general public, it does not become a documentary and put somewhere. I want to bring it out to the general mass. So there's a cost, and I have given multiple estimates. So right now I have got $500,000 from one trust who is willing to pay towards one episode. So I'm looking for contributions or try to form a committee somehow that if we can form a smaller committee for one episode, 2 episodes, and take the money that way. Obviously, the due credit will be given to whoever is contributing towards this, web series.
Vivek ji, give me the call, and I can connect you to the direct to Delhi.
Okay.
So which will solve your financial problem.
That will be great, Damleji. I'll definitely give you a call tomorrow.
Okay, that was nice, Vivek ji. And we will continue with this process.
Sure.
Okay, later on also.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So I think that's it for today. It's 9:03. Unless anybody has any comment, thank you very much for joining today, and we'll see you pretty soon on a new topic. Thank you.